guys, welcome to this new video. Today we're gonna see how to make a hard techno track like Amstra. We're gonna go through all the elements and you can follow along with the project file that you can find in the link in the description. Also, I'll put the different sample packs that I used for this track. Okay, let's go. Okay, so before we begin, just a few comments on the Amstra style. So when I was analyzing it, I felt like Amstra style use first the kind of kick that are punchy, but also with a big rumble that takes lots of bass. So that's why I tried to this kind of kick. Then upon that, it uses some drums, and the drums that it uses are usually all playing together. Like, it's very rare that you have only one isolated open hat or hi-hat. So it's usually like a big layer of different drums that plays along the kick. So that's why I try to do this. And it also plays these drums along with the clap all together. And then in terms of leads, so it doesn't really use big leads that kind of go like this into the drop. So it's usually more like emotion, feelings, lots of different chords, bass, Reese basses, especially horns that are playing together and kind of give movement and atmosphere and feelings to the track. And he also uses lots of vocals. So maybe sometimes he worked with vocalists. Or I know he worked with New Jabber, but also use this kind of samples. So that's why I try to do during this tutorial. All right, so now we're gonna dive into the different elements. This is our kick. So I've rendered it to audio, so I'm gonna work on this group. I use my usual framework to build this kind of kick. So I have several layers. I have a main kick. I have mid kicks, top kicks, and a rumble. So withdrawing all the processing, I first started with this sample. So this is a Clubby kick from Vengeance, so pretty classic. I've just withdraw a bit of the tail, and I just wanted to isolate, as usual, just the lower frequency range of this sample, and just withdrawing a bit of the boominess, and kind of making the sub a bit more clean with this EQ. So this is my punch, my main layer for this kick. Then I added some mid kicks. So I have lots of layers, but this is usually, so I first started with the same sample here, but kind of isolated the mid part here and added a bit of saturation, was redrawing the high end that was too harsh, and just withdrawing the boxiness here to get something more clean. Then I added a few kicks, so just some samples, and I isolate the same way the mid part. I use a bit of reverb to put some room, and I just wanted the transient part, the punch. So here it's a top kick, and then I have this one, so I guess it's an impact. Same thing, I withdraw the boxiness, I just isolate the mid, and I take the transient. And I did the same here with another kick. Here it was more high end of it. And same thing, just a bit of EQ, withdrawing some resonances that I didn't want it. And sometimes I mono it because you take these samples and you get too much sound on the right, so it's better to put it in mono. And so as a whole, I got this mid kick that really added the punch to my sub layer. So now I have something punchy, and I just wanted a bit more high end. So this is my top kick layers. Also, I have a layer with an impact, just to put a bit of room. So this is an impact. Again, just some EQs. So we throw the resonancy. I don't take the lows because I don't want to clash with the kick, and I didn't want it too much of the high end. So just to get some room here, and here it's just a top kick with a bit of noisy feeling and a bit of reverb, slight reverb. And so all of these layers give me this punch. And so to work on top of that, I need a rumble. And to do my rumble, I do the same thing as usual. So I took my main kick layer here, and I've put a convolution reverb to 100%. Like this. Then I do a freeze and flatten track, and I get this audio sample. So in the full, this was like this. And then I just take this part, I put it here, and I just adjust here the sample the way I want. So to do kind of sidechain, but I do add another sidechain here with kickstart. And I just isolate the sub, and it's really important here to take the maximum slope so that it kind of resonates here in the lower mid in the sub. And so this gives me my kick. It still feels like a bit thin, but it's full, like I have all the frequencies, and I just need to boost the whole thing with some saturation and some compression. So that's what I did. So first I use, make sure everything is mono in the lower frequency range. I saturate, and I make sure that I do my gain staging. So if I add some volume here, I have to withdraw some volume here also. Then I compress and glue the whole thing with a drum bus. A bit of EQ, so it feels a bit like narrow. So I have to open it and get more highs. And then kind of just boosting it with the limiter and clipping. So now I have my kick, and I rendered it to audio here, and then I added a bit of more EQ. So there's lots of EQs, but I felt like it was a bit resonating. So I wanted to withdraw some boxiness here in that frequency range, and also here it was a bit resonating, and I wanted a bit more highs. So that's why I had my usual amp with a slight wet percentage here only in the highs, so no bass, because this will usually mess up my sub. A few more EQs for the resonances. You see this kind of EQs. And at the end, just boosting the highs with the EQ3. And so this gives me this kick. And after that, I felt my transient need a bit more enhancement. So I added another layer just another clubby kick. Just isolated the mid part with a transient and kind of boosting it. And this is my kick. Okay, so now we have our drums. So as I was saying, these drums are used all together by Amstra. So I kind of use different loops, open hats, hi-hats, a bit of break loop, and a clap to build this whole layer. This will cover the whole mid-range and high range to make like a full driving loop with the kick. So we're gonna go through all of this. So first I use a simple rave loop, just withdrawing a bit of resonancy here, nothing special. So I take a quite short loop that then I duplicate. Then I have open hats. So here I have several layers to cover some different frequency range. Again, to have something very full that gives some drive to it. So I have something more in the high end, around 10K. So here, nothing special. I just chose deliberately the sample that I wanted. So I wanted something that was quite sharp, but still that cut through with some resonancy. Then I have a shaker to have something more noisy. And again, something that's very sharp. I wanted a short open hat. So I have this shaker. Then I have 909 open hat. And since I wanted also something noisy, I used the vocoder and a bit of saturation. So at first the sample was like this. So it's a simple 909. And usually Amstra doesn't really use these raw 909, so kind of make it more distorted and noisy. With the vocoder. And with the vocoder, so you can use here the dry wet to select how noisy you want it to be, and also the end voice here. And you can also do a kind of EQ here with the draw mode. So you can add the frequencies as you wish. And finally, I have another 909. This one a bit more mid-range. But I used the same processing. And this gives me this open hat. Next, I have a little break loop. So I took a very short part of break loop. So I used kind of a random break loop that I liked and that fitted to the track to give a bit more groove to it. Then I have open the hi-hats. So same kind of processing, but here more in the mid-range. So withdraw the high end. I use a bit of overdrive and the vocoder. So I wanted it to resonate a bit more lower in the frequency. And finally, I have this close hat that I use as a shaker. So that's why I withdraw the transient here. And again, bit of saturation, bit of overdrive, bit of vocoder. And that's pretty much it. And finally, I have my clap. And I think I already did this in previous tracks, but this is the combination of a 909 snare and clap. And this usually gives me the punch with the snare, but also the noisiness from the clap. And again, same processing. Some overdrive to saturate it. A bit of vocoder to have more noise. And some EQ to get it right. And as a whole, I blend everything together. So again, small saturation, bit of EQ to have the mids right, and everything is into the same room. So bit of room still, so that it feels like a whole thing, not really dry. Then I glue together with drum bass. Also gives a bit more punch. And some sidechain. And the sidechain, so it's not completely 100% because it feels weird with the kick if I do so. So that's why I use only like 40%. And I kind of use it. I don't use it in the break here. And that's pretty much it for my drums. So this gives me this whole layer. And so yeah, you see that I play it all together generally. I just have a bit of a ride at some point. And nothing special here. It's a 909 ride, native from Ableton. Kind of adds a bit of something in the high end. So just some EQs to withdraw all the resonances. The same room as the other. Actually, it's a big room. And the sidechain. So yeah, it's just like more of a room than a sharp drum. And that's it for my drums. Okay, so then we have our harmonics, kind of leads. So I have several layers. I have an harp. I have few layers of horns, core, solo vocal, a bass, and a Reese Bass. So we're gonna go through all of these layers. There's no like layer that's kind of act as a lead, except maybe the score, which is the main movement from the track. So this was the main movement. So I just took the scale. So I was in G sharp. Of course, this G sharp, I got it by the kick, and I used the spectrum here. And by the way, an easy way to get it is to use the parameters here for the range. See, you can be even more precise, like this, so you can get the pick and the scale for your track. So I kind of play around to have this movement, and I have several layers. So first I have this main formant core, which is a preset that comes from Ableton, so you can find it. So this is already some different layers of wavetables, some vocals, and a drone. And I kind of play with it around in the track, especially with the filter cutoff. So I start by having it a bit narrow, and then it opens up. So I don't go over 100 here, because if I do, I have nasty resonances after 10k plus kilohertz. So that's why I stay at 100. I also play with the attack. So it's a bit smoother and a little bit more attack in the drop, so that it comes faster. In terms of processing, I just have a bit of saturation with my gain staging, of course, a bit of amp, EQ, just to withdraw those harsh frequencies. I have my room, with the reverb. And then I just play also with the auto filter. So here when the break comes, I start down a little lows and then it opens up. And I have also my sidechain, and the sidechain is only there when there's the kick, and I withdraw it when there's the break. And so this layer is supported by other layers, the horns. So I have mid layer and a high layer. This is based on this serum patch that I made. So this is mostly a kind of Reese Bass, but with higher pitch. So it's just a saw wave with 5 unison, still some mono sound, and it's slightly detuned. And also I have the attack so that it's smooth, like this. And I have also the filter that opens up with the envelope that's linked to the envelope. And then just a bit of distortion, tube distortion, and some multiband compression. And on this one, I think it's quite the same patch. It's just that I use another layer underneath. So that's just a wavetable on which I play with the position to make it move with the LFO here, slowly. And then it's quite the same, I guess. Yeah, it's just saw wave, 5 unison. And I have the same processing for them, so just a bit of saturation, some amp, kind of get the EQ. So I withdraw some resonancy that I don't like. Yeah, it was a bit too much, you see. I don't want also the very, very high end. And then I have the same reverb and my filter plus the sidechain. And it's the same for the higher part. It's just that I had at some point in the track, so when there's the drop, I have only these 2 layers, and then here I add this high-end layer. So just to kind of anticipate the breakdown here, what I do is I play a few notes here in the intro. So this is few notes from my movement here. You see. So it kind of prepares the listener to what's coming after. And alongside this, I also have this sustain pad in the intro. So this is just these chords with some sidechain, the reverb, and this is from the same patch from Ableton, the Formant choir. Alongside this, I have this harp. So I wanted something that was with melancholy, a bit spacey, and so a bit loopy also. So I kind of started with these 3 notes, this kind of rhythm. So and then I just play around with the scale to find something that I like. So when the emotion was something that I like, I kept it. And so then around the track, I just play it here first underneath in the intro. So with the cutoff, that is quite. So yeah, it's here. This cutoff that is quite narrow. So just in the background, then it comes to open up in the breakdown to build the tension, and then it goes back at the end to support the chords and the different layers. And yeah, in terms of processing, so yeah, just the Serum patch, it's just a pluck that is native from Serum. So it's pluck spacer. And I just made the attack smoother because I wanted something more in the background and more smooth. And so yeah, just a bit of distortion. I widen it with the utility, but I make sure everything is mono, but still I don't have so much bass in this sound. And then I have my same room and the echo and my auto filter to manage the cutoff. And that's pretty much it for the harp. And the last layer for this pad is this vocal. So what I use is Omnisphere. I really like these synths because especially for human voices, you get lots of presets and lots of different vocals and you can play around with it. So it's a bit dry at first. So really to create this melancholy and this bass, here it's 100% reverb and long decay. It kind of creates kind of pad or core. And yeah, nothing special in terms of processing. So I have just my sidechain, I play with the cutoff here, and I have this auto filter because I had a bit too much of a resonancy. And I also use it with the LFO so that it moves slowly and kind of bring more movement. Also, I use this auto pan so that I have this stutter effect. Here at some point in the track. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Also have my utility to manage the gain so that I don't have to change the automation each time that I want to change the volume. I can just easily play with the utility and I can change the overall volume of the track here. And yeah, that's it for the Harmonics. And I just have also my bass. So you can see how to make this kind of Reese basses on my tutorial that I made last week. So this is one of the patches that I offered, but with slight differences. So I have my sub, I have two oscillators that are slightly detuned here, like 20. And also have some unison on this one, so slightly detuned also. And a filter. I also play here with the unison. You can move around here to get it even more wide or less, depending on what you want. You can also change the settings here. And it changes the quality of the oscillator and it gives you a different timbre, different sound for your synths. And so yeah, just have a bit of distortion and compression as usual. My amp, very subtle here. And then I just play around with this cutoff along the track. So I start here, a bit narrow, and everything opens up. So basically in the arrangement, you can see here everything is in a narrow. It opens up here. Then I have my break, it's closed, and then it opens up again. And so in my Reese Bass, I still have a bit of EQ. So you see I have a bit of resonancy here. And usually what I do when I withdraw this resonancy, I kind of boost up, but widely with my EQ after. And yeah, I play a different pattern than this one to create the contrasts. My movement here and here is different, but I still use the same scale. And I kind of try different possibilities until I found something that I like. Really use your ears and the emotion that the chords are conveying. And yeah, that's it for this Reese Bass. And I also use this patch So yeah, it's a different Reese Bass, but it's quite the same. So just unison, 2 saw wave, and here a sine. And yeah, this is just to create the bass, and again to build more tension at the break, and I open it up until we reach the climax. And yeah, that's it for the harmonics. And finally, we have the transitions, the different elements. So I have a few impacts, nothing special, just some samples. I have a few sweeps here to build the tension. Here I have the impact. So kind of tell to the listener, okay, this is the break. I have my impact. Here I have another impact so that I can bring my bass. And then I have just another one so that I bring my snare roll. And actually the snare roll, this is just a basic pattern that I use. And I use a combination of 2 snares. One that is clean, a 9/9, and another that is more noisy. And finally, I just have this sweep before the drop. So it almost feels like a vocal sweep, but I can show you how I make all of these sweep. So here I think I use the horn, but you can use any sound from your track so that it's more coherent. So I took this horn. I play only like a small note, like this. And I will put the reverb 100% with a long decay. And I can just record this with an audio track here. So I have this, and I can make it even longer by adding another reverb again. And then I can just freeze and flatten. And with this, I have my sweep. And usually you see here, the climax of the volume is right here. Well, it's maybe like here, but usually if you take this part, it's going to be smoother. So you can just take this, then even play with this, and you can just copy paste and you will get your sweep. And you can just Command G, and you can boost the volume, and you get your proper sweep. And that's how you do it. Alright guys, so that's it for this track. Again, if you like this content, please subscribe to the channel, comment, put some likes, or share with your friends. And I'll see you in the next video. Ciao guys.